Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. My name is Sudhir Sahasranaman and you're watching CBSE with Sudhir. What are we going to do in this video today? We are going to look at a chapter of social science, which is chapter number 6. This is the only pending chapter from your part 1 textbook of social science for class 8 students, the part 1 book. The rest of the chapters of history, of geography, of economics, and the first chapter of civics, the political science, we have already done. This is the second chapter, chapter number 6. What is this chapter about? It is about the Indian parliamentary system, wherein we are going to focus largely on legislature and executive, and there is also a mention of judiciary. See, most of the teachers, and with no offense meant to any teacher, will teach you academic stuff, but I have covered this for the last 35 years, actual coverage. So a lot of it will come from practical experience. I'll tell you with a lot of examples what really happens in the way Indian democracy actually functions. So let's get started. The textbook starts. I want you to keep the textbook also open at the same time, because I would keep making some references. Otherwise, I have made notes for most part. There are a couple of places where I would want you to refer to the textbook. Okay, so the textbook starts with a quote of Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. What did he say? He said that the Constitution of India is not a mere lawyer's document. It's not just like another legal document with lots of rules and laws mentioned. He said that it is a vehicle of life which kind of guarantees you and tells you how an Indian citizen will lead his or her life while living in India. And its spirit means the soul of the Constitution, is always the spirit of the age. Now, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer was a member of the drafting committee which wrote the Constitution of India, and was one of the very well-known legal minds in India at that time. Now, what exactly did he mean by this? Sorry. Yeah. So basically to say that, one second. The quote means, the order has got changed, so I'm sorry for that. This quote essentially means that the Constitution should not be viewed as a rigid, cold, legal document written only for lawyers and advocates and judges. No, it is not meant for that. It is meant for every citizen of this free country called India. He said it is a living, evolving instrument meant to adapt to the changing realities, that as the realities change, because life is a dynamic process. What happened in the 1990s was not the same which happened in 2012 or in 2024 or now in 2026. Everything keeps changing. COVID happened. Life turned topsy-turvy. Is a constitution willing to adapt itself to the changing realities? In 1940s, when the constitution was written, there was nothing called the internet, but now the internet is an essential part of our life, right? So is the constitution dynamic and flexible enough to reflect the realities of the changing India? So instead, it is a living, evolving instrument meant to adapt to the changing realities, values, and practical needs of human societies across generations. So what happened in your great grandfather's generation, in your grandfather's generation, in your father's generation, your mother's generation, will not be the same in your generation or the generation after you. But the Constitution will continue to live and continue to be dynamic and adaptable to the changing needs of every generation. Okay. Now, let me just tell you this information note that I want to tell you. If you are looking to buy the best question bank, why do you need a question bank? If you need, otherwise you can always take down notes from what I'm teaching you. But if you think you need a written textbook kind of question bank with notes, with answers to every question which is there in your NCERT textbook, extra questions and answers, practice test papers of 80 marks each, and mind maps, then the one we are suggesting is the Oswald Books Question Bank. This is the one that we are suggesting right now. Okay, a similar one will be out for part 2 textbook also. Okay, so this is the part 1 social science, one for all question bank, social science for class 8 students. Okay, How much does it cost? It's cost 399 rupees. However, what you can do is to either buy it on Amazon, and the link to buy it on Amazon I have given in the description box. Please follow that link. Alternately, what you can do is to buy it on oswaldbooks.com website. You can go to their website. The advantage with that is there you can use my author coupon code called Sudhir10, Sudhir 10, before you make the purchase, and immediately you will get an additional discount on the purchase that you make, not just for this book, but for any question bank or any Oswald Books bank book that you buy from their website. I must also tell you, and this is something which you need to remember, that I will be doing test paper videos chapter wise, including this chapter. Every chapter I will be doing it on this particular channel for both science and social science will be there on this particular channel. So that is something which you can keep a note of. Okay, now let's move forward. Now, the chapter begins with a story of a visit of students of Nalanda Vidyalaya, class 8 students, to the new parliament building. I hope you know the difference between the old parliament and the new parliament. The old parliament was constructed in the 1920s. It worked for over 100 years. Now there is this new parliament which has been constructed. Okay, so a school visit was organized. The design and structure of this new parliament building is that it is a soft triangle. It is in the shape of a triangle. Okay, it represents balance because triangle essentially is a very balanced kind of a structure. You know, three sides. It is a very balanced kind of a structure. It shows inclusivity, that it includes everybody, and there is a sense of purpose because the edges, when they are sharp like that, it shows a sense of dynamism, that I'm moving in your direction. There is a sense of sharpness of approach. So that is what this building essentially conveys. Now, in terms of practicality, this particular building is using green construction. What does it mean? There are many buildings. In fact, I remember one of the buildings in Hyderabad was declared a green building. It was one of the first green buildings at that time. It was the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII building. What it essentially means is that you use material which is eco-friendly, which is not harming or hurting the environment, that you use the kind of power supply that you use less power supply, thereby you kind of hurt the environment less as a result. Then the kind of materials that you use, they are all eco-friendly, they are kind of recyclable kind of material. So if you do all that, your buildings will be known as green buildings. It doesn't mean that you paint the building green, it will be known as a green building. Green building essentially is an environment friendly building. The new parliament building that we have in New Delhi is also considered a green construction, and therefore it is sustainable. Sustainable means something which sustains the environment. It reduces electricity consumption by 30% less. Okay. Also, so this is as far as the environment part is concerned. As far as aesthetics is concerned, how beautiful and how decent it looks. The walls are decorated with carvings of peacocks, which is our national bird, lotus, which is our national flower, tribal art of different patterns. It includes portraits of freedom fighters and ancient symbols like the Ashoka emblem, this one. The interior houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, features houses specific chambers for the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, which are housed inside the parliament. Now, a historical context which is important is that this is the old parliament building. Okay, the old parliament building now is called the Samvidhan Sadan. Samvidhan is the Hindi word for constitution. So students from eastern part of India or the southern part of India who are not very familiar with Hindi, please remember Samvidhan means the constitution. It's a Hindi word for constitution. Sadan means house. So it is now called Samvidhan Sadan because it was here that the Constitution of India was drafted. It was built in the 1920s and served the nation for over 7 decades. That is after 1947. 1920 it was built. So in that sense, it is over 100 years old. But from 1947, it served as the parliament for India. Okay. Now, let's now talk about the foundations of Indian democracy. After years of struggle against colonial rule, because the Britishers were ruling India for almost 200 odd years, from the time they came when Emperor Jahangir was ruling over India till 1947 August 15, when they finally left India. So after years of struggle against colonial rule, the drafting of the constitution allowed citizens to govern themselves, that we did not have any kind of foreign masters. We decided who will govern us, who will form the government, and that's how the whole parliamentary democracy structure was constituted. Okay, so that is what the present structure of Indian democracy is. The first and the very important aspect of this Indian democracy, parliamentary democracy, is that because we have studied about monarchy, oligarchy, dictatorship, etc. We are not like that. We are a parliamentary democracy. So the first important aspect of that is universal adult franchise. What does it mean? Listen to this carefully. It means that every adult citizen above the age of 18, earlier it used to be 21, in the 1980s it was brought down to 18, right? So in another 5 years or so, each one of you will also be able to vote in an election in India, be it the municipal election, be it the assembly election to a state, or in the Lok Sabha election. So every adult citizen has the right to vote. It does not matter whether you are a male, female, or the other gender, or the third gender. It does not matter what caste or community you are from. It does not matter whether you are a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Jew, Parsi. It does not matter. It does not matter whether you are comparatively rich or poor. Irrespective of all that, you have the right to vote, and the power of a vote of every citizen is the same. This also is known as universal adult suffrage. There is a minor difference between the two, but largely they are considered like synonyms. So that should be okay for you at the class 8 level. Okay, now the next concept that you need to understand is the concept of direct representation. What does it mean? That the people directly elected, like I vote in my Lok Sabha constituency and I decide who will be my member of parliament, who will represent me and all the voters of this particular constituency in the Lok Sabha. So I am directly electing my member of parliament. So for example, let's say the constituency of Varanasi, from where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the Lok Sabha MP. So the people of Varanasi, the voters of Varanasi, anyone who is above the age of 18 is a voter in Varanasi, have decided that Narendra Modi will represent them in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so the people directly elect representatives to the Lok Sabha and the majority group forms the government. So if a particular group has the larger numbers, they will form the government because they have the larger numbers in the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is the house of the people. Lok means people. That functions with the people's consent. So it means that we, the people of India, have chosen this particular government. So the first such Lok Sabha was elected in the year 1952. 47, India became independent, but the first 5 years it was an unelected government. In the sense, it was kind of chosen that Jawaharlal Nehru will be the Prime Minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel will be the Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister. Of course, he passed away in 1950, and so on and so forth. But the first Lok Sabha election was held in the year 1952, and the last Lok Sabha election, which was held in the year 2024, in the month of April, May, June, was constituted that was the 18th Lok Sabha. Okay, these figures you will need to remember. These can come as MCQs. Now let's understand how does the Parliament of India actually look like. So when you're talking about Parliament of India, we always say that it consists of the President of India, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That is President plus the two houses of Parliament. And that makes it a bicameral system. Bicameral is when there are two houses. Okay, if it is a unicameral, it means there is only one house. But India is a bicameral system at the central level. Please remember this, because I'm going to talk about it again in the context of the states of India. Please remember this point. I'll come back to it. Okay, so the bicameral system, Parliament consists of the President and the two houses. So let's look at the Lok Sabha first. Lok Sabha is where the people have elected directly, and that's why the people, the MPs, are elected. Rajya Sabha, they are not elected directly. I'll come to it. Lok Sabha is the house of the people. It's also known as the lower house. Lok Sabha L, lower house L, and the house of the people. So you can remember it as LLP. So that is something we can remember by. The election and the seats, the Lok Sabha members are directly elected, as I just now told you. The constitution envisages means it kind of, that's how it has planned it. According to the constitution, there will be a maximum of 550 members of the Lok Sabha. Okay, 550, right now it's only 543, but 550. But if the delimitation bill, which will be brought in by this particular government, comes in and it is passed, the last time it could not be passed, but if it is passed the next time, then this number may increase to almost 800 plus. Okay, so that is something which you need to keep in mind. Right now, as I am recording in 2026, the number is 550, but this number could go up to 800 plus once the delimitation bill is passed. Now, what about the Rajya Sabha? The Rajya Sabha is known as the upper house. It is known as the Council of States because all the members from the states are elected. I will tell you how it is. And it is also known as the House of Elders. So there are these different names for the Rajya Sabha. Please note this down in your notebook. Members are elected indirectly by an electoral college. What do I mean by electoral college? It doesn't mean that your kind of college, right? The college that you are thinking in. No. Electoral college is that if a member is to be elected from, let's say, Madhya Pradesh, the MLAs, okay, from the members of the Legislative Assembly from Madhya Pradesh who have been elected directly by the people. We elect the MLAs, right? Now, this again for Rajya Sabha MPs, we will not vote again because everything will be a lot of expenditure. So what we do is that we empower the MLAs to vote on our behalf. So the MLAs decide that who will be the Rajya Sabha MPs from our state, right? So that is why we call it indirectly. We are not electing directly, we are electing indirectly. Allocation of seats in both houses is based on the population of each state. So this depends, like every state does not have the same number of MPs in the Rajya Sabha. No, it depends on the population. For example, states like Sikkim, states like Puducherry, okay, Union Territory states like Puducherry, they will have only one Rajya Sabha MP. But a state like Uttar Pradesh, which has a large population, the most populated state in India, has 31 Rajya Sabha MPs, right? So it depends essentially on the number of MPs, population of a state that will determine how many Rajya Sabha MPs can be sent. Now, India is a federal system. We have discussed that earlier also. So India's system essentially distributes the power between the center, the states, and the village panchayats or the municipality in the case of towns and cities. Okay, so center, which is at the center, national capital, New Delhi. States, it can be talking about Andhra Pradesh, we are talking about Karnataka, we are talking about Gujarat, we are talking about Jharkhand, Bihar, Bengal, etc. Right? So that is how it is. So the power is distributed. Certain powers are with the central government, certain powers are with the state government, and there are powers which are given at the local level to the village panchayat, because then they can decide what is to be done. For example, if there is a problem of water supply or there is a problem of lack of fertilizer in a particular village, the prime minister is not going to come and attend to that, right? So that will be done at the village panchayat level itself, which is why it is known as a three-tier system of governance. Okay, so this is done to balance national unity with local interests. So India's system was inspired by Britain. Our constitution is largely inspired by what is written in the British constitution, but it also drew from the experience, and this is something which we have studied earlier in class 7, of ancient republics called Mahajanapadas and village panchayats. We studied about that in class 7. I hope you remember. Now, how does the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, how do they actually function? The Lok Sabha is the presiding officer, is the speaker. He or she decides on the order, what can be discussed, when will it be discussed, how much time it will be discussed, who will be the speakers who will speak on a particular motion. I mean, each party kind of suggests that, from our side, these two MPs will speak, from our side, these three MPs will speak, etc., etc. So a final decision is taken by the speaker, how much time is to be allotted to each speaker, right? So he maintains discipline, he or she. Om Birla is the present speaker, and he's also, the speaker is also, please remember, elected by the members of the Lok Sabha. So he has to be a Lok Sabha MP in order to be the Lok Sabha speaker. Okay, please remember that a non-member of parliament cannot be the Lok Sabha speaker. For example, Om Birla, who is a speaker now, is a member of parliament from Rajasthan. Okay, so because he is elected as a member of parliament by his constituency, therefore he is in the Lok Sabha. And when the Lok Sabha met after the election in 2024, he was elected as the Lok Sabha speaker. Last Lok Sabha also, 17th Lok Sabha also, Om Birla only was the speaker. Rajya Sabha is slightly different. Here it is presided over by the Vice President of India, who serves as the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. Now the difference here is Lok Sabha speaker is a Lok Sabha MP, but the Rajya Sabha chairperson is not a Rajya Sabha MP. Please remember that. He is the Vice President of the country, right now CP Radhakrishnan, but he is not a Rajya Sabha MP. He does not have to be elected as a member of the Rajya Sabha. In his election, of course, both Lok Sabha MPs and Rajya Sabha MPs vote, but he himself is not a Rajya Sabha MP. Please remember this difference between the two presiding officers. They are presiding means they preside over the conduct and the the regular conduct of the house. Now, this is something which happened recently. This is called the Sengol, which comes from the state of Tamil Nadu. What is the significance? The Sengol is a gold-plated silver scepter which was handed over to our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in August 1947 to mark the transfer of power from Britain to India. Okay, it is now placed, now in the new parliament, it is placed besides the speaker's chair, and it is seen as a symbol of dharma, that is doing the right thing, and righteous rule. On top of the Sengol sits Nandi, which symbolizes justice. Nandi, which is the vehicle of Lord Shiva. What is a scepter? What exactly is a scepter? It is a decorated rod which was carried by a king or queen at ceremonies as a symbol of their power. Though there was some kind of criticism because people believe that India is not a monarchy. Sengol is carried by the king or the queen. So why is it a symbol now? When India is a democracy, when people are the kings, it's not led by a king. The counter argument to that was, we are talking more from the point of view of dharma and righteous rule. That is what the Sengol conveys and communicates. So therefore, this is important. So I'm giving you both points of view. Okay, I hope it is clear till here. Now let's move to the legislative functions of parliament. Now, what does the parliament? Parliament, generally it ends up getting conveyed as the old parliament, but I hope you now understand the difference between the new and the old parliament. So the parliament's legislative duties are classified into four parts. Okay, four different kinds. So let's look at the first one. The constitutional functions are the first one. What do? Parliament members, they elect the President of India, they elect the Vice President of India, they amend the constitution if there is any amendment required. What I just now said, told you right at the beginning, that in 1940s when the constitution was drafted, there is nothing called the internet. There are many other laws which have been brought in subsequently. All this means that the constitution needs to be amended. It does not mean that the constitution is wrong, but it needs to be amended. It's like, you have a house, you paint it every 5 years. It does not mean that the house was wrong or the earlier colors were wrong. It just means that if you keep changing it, you keep it new and dynamic. Okay, so you do amendments. That power is also given to the members of parliament. You uphold core values like separation of powers and federalism. That is, the center does not decide that, I will only do everything. I am all powerful. The states can't do anything. The center cannot say that. The state can go to the Supreme Court against the center. So the constitution spirit is upheld by the members of parliament. Then the parliament is also directly entrusted, please remember this, with the upholding the core values of Indian constitution, enabling parliamentary democracy through universal adult suffrage, that is everyone's vote should be protected, that is under no circumstances anyone's vote should be snatched away, which is why you see a lot of debates in parliament saying that under no circumstances, if he is a citizen of India as per records, he should have the right to vote in an Indian election. That right nobody in the country can snatch away from any legitimate citizen. Then the second one is following the separation of powers between the legislature, executive and judiciary. This is the legislature, this is the judiciary, this is the executive. So all three are equally important, and judiciary cannot say I am most important, legislature and executive gaya bhaad mein, you cannot say. Similarly, executive cannot behave that I don't care about the judiciary or the legislature. All three are important. Each one has clear demarcated powers and they function according to those powers given by the Constitution of India. Ensuring federalism, that is all the states are equally important. In Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and the seven sisters, Assam, Tripura, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, all of them are equally important. Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, all of them are equally important. Even Lakshadweep, which is here, and even Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are here. Then, upholding the fundamental rights and directive principles. Fundamental rights is what are the rights given to the citizens of the country. Directive principles, again, something which are like, important for the state to actually carry out of state policy by framing laws and policies. Okay, we've also studied this. Let's now look at the second part, which is about lawmaking. Now, while I'm talking about lawmaking, I want to tell you that every member of parliament or every MLA of any legislative assembly is known as a lawmaker. The reason why they are called a lawmaker is because they are involved in the process of drafting laws. That is, they are responsible for whenever a bill is presented by the government, it is debated by the MPs of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the members of the Legislative Assembly wherever they are presented before it becomes an act. And therefore, every MP or MLA is also known as a lawmaker. Please remember this. This can come as an MCQ or a 1 mark fill in the blanks true or false question. What is a bill? The second question obviously will come that if lawmaking is the process of turning a bill into an act, ye bill bhala kya hai? Now, bill is a draft which is presented by the government of a proposed law. Before it can be turned into an act or a law, it is presented in the form of a bill that needs parliamentary approval, which means that a bill is presented by the government. Let's say something to do with the security in the country. Union Home Minister Amit Shah presents it in the Lok Sabha. Okay, now then members from the BJP will talk about it, members from the Congress will talk about it, from the Samajwadi Party, from the DMK, from the Trinamool Congress, from the Shiv Sena, from different parties, they will all talk about it, discuss it. Okay, these are the things which are good about the bill, these are the things which are bad about the bill. It will be discussed in Parliament. And then there will be a vote done on the bill. And if the number of MPs who are in favor of the bill is more, then that bill becomes a act. Depending on, it will be then discussed, the same thing will be discussed in the Rajya Sabha, then it will be sent to the president, then it will become an act or a law. That is the entire process. What exactly is a clause? Clause are specific details in that bill. Specifically, for example, in this particular security bill, this will be the facilities which will be provided to all the refugees coming into this area. I'm just giving you a very random example. So that's how specific clauses are given, to which somebody can say, I have objection to this particular clause. I have objection to clause number 19.2, right? I think that should be removed. The Home Minister can say that no, it is an important clause, I think it should stay for these reasons. Or the Home Minister can say, yes, that's a good idea, we will make some changes in 19.2 so that it satisfies your objection. So it's a spirit of give and take, it's a spirit of debate, it's a spirit of discussion. Okay, so specific details within a bill, such as the age group defined in the Right to Education Act. Somebody can say that this age group should be expanded. Why only 15 to 18? Why not 13 to 18, right? Age group. So the education minister can stand and say, these are the reasons why we think it should be only from 15 to 18 and not include 13 and 14 years of age. Now that MP can object and say that no, I will vote against the bill because you are not agreeing to me. Or he can say that, okay, what you're saying makes sense, I will vote for you, right? So it is basically specific details in the bill, the draft bill, which is presented by the government. Then comes the situation where a gazette notification is issued. What exactly is a gazette? A gazette is an official government publication announcing legal documents. Once it is signed by the President of India, then it is issued as part of a gazette notification. Okay, so that is an official legal document. Then there is something called the standing committee, which comes before this. Now, what exactly is a standing committee? It does not mean that standing committee is a committee where all MPs are standing all the time. No, it doesn't mean that. It is a permanent committee of MPs that scrutinizes, that it goes through every detail of the bill activities and makes recommendation. For example, when the One Nation, One Election bill came, okay, the government brought in, it was sent to a standing committee. Now, standing committee, what happens is that when a new Lok Sabha is formed, the Lok Sabha speaker forms several standing committees. Standing committee on defense, standing committee on home affairs, standing committee on railways, standing committee on tourism, standing committee on agriculture. So this consists of MPs from all different parties, right? So if a standing committee, let's say, has 12 members, it may have 4 members from BJP because that's the largest party. Let's say 2 members from Congress, 2 members from DMK, 2 members from Shiv Sena. So different parties will have composition and they will discuss a particular bill, and then it will be making recommendations to the government. The government may or may not accept their recommendations, make changes or may not make changes, and then present the bill again in Parliament. So that's what happens in the case of standing committee. Like for example, the One Nation, One Election bill, it was sent to a standing committee. The standing committee is now in the process of discussing it. Then it will make recommendations to the government as far as the draft bill is concerned. So that's what this done. So because it has MPs from all the parties, it is considered much more equal in that sense. It is not considered a partisan kind of a group. So let's go through the different steps. The step 1 is the bill is introduced in either house of parliament. Okay, step 1. Step 2 is the bill is read. Now, this is something which is not happening now, but it is part of something which was written in the constitution. Earlier, many MPs were illiterate, so a clerk would read out the contents of the bill. It is not done anymore now. Now everybody can read it. Okay. Then step 3 is that the bill is referred to a standing committee. Okay, the bill is sent to a standing committee. The bill is then taken up for consideration and passing. Once it makes its recommendation, it comes back, it is presented in the Parliament again, then it is discussed in Parliament. Then step 5, clause by clause discussion and voting on amendments introduced by any MP. So any MPs, I want a voting to be done only on clause 5 of this bill. A voting can take place, and if there are more MPs who are against clause 5, that clause 5 will be struck out of the bill, right? So that's how precisely it is done. Step 6, voting is happening on the bill, that if more MPs are in favor of the bill is passed. The same process is repeated in the other house. If it has happened in Lok Sabha, it will be repeated in Rajya Sabha. If it has first been introduced in the Rajya Sabha, it will be repeated in the Lok Sabha. Then it is sent to the President of India for the President's assent, that is the signature. And finally, the gazette notification is issued on that thing, saying that now it is the law of the land in India. Now, the third part, as far as the entire thing of Parliament is concerned, is about executive accountability. The Parliament ensures that the government justifies its action. The government cannot do anything and everything. without being able to defend it in parliament. That's important because the government is answerable to the Lok Sabha. It is only because it has the majority in the Lok Sabha that the government is functioning. If it loses its majority in the Lok Sabha, it will not be able to function. So therefore, the government is always answerable to the Lok Sabha. So it has to justify what it is doing. The executive is responsible for implementing and enforcing laws and overseeing the effective running of the government, right? So the executive runs the government, but it will have to justify its actions and decisions made in the Lok Sabha. Then there is something called the questionnaire, which happens generally around 11 o'clock. It's different in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. It is a first hour of a session where MPs ask ministers about government policies. This is because the ministers are answerable to Parliament, especially the Lok Sabha, and have to justify their actions and decisions. Then, special committees also hold meetings where ministries, both ministers and secretaries, for example, the recent case of the CBSE, the class 12 entire fiasco about the marking. So the secretaries, the education secretary, the CBSE chairperson, they were all called by the standing committee on education to understand what really was the problem. Why did this entire mess take place? So they will have to explain and answer questions about their policies. These committees include MPs from different political parties. Okay, this is as far as the standing committee is concerned. The fourth part is financial accountability, because it is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha which pass the budget of the country, right? The budget which is presented by the finance minister on the 1st of February of every month at 11 a.m. Okay, earlier it used to be the last day of the month of February. Now it has been made as the 1st of February. Do you know something very interesting? Earlier, the budgets used to be presented at 5 p.m. Okay, in fact, when I started covering Parliament, the budgets were presented at 5 p.m. The reason for that was that when it is 5 p.m. in India, it was something which was done during the British times. So that London, which is about 5 hours behind, they would be able to comfortably sit around 12 o'clock in the afternoon and listen to the speech of the finance person in Parliament in New Delhi. But now that India is independent, where is the need to do at 5 o'clock? So now we have shifted it to 11 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of February. So approving and monitoring government expenditure through the annual budget. Money bills. Now this is again very important, which is related to anything related to finance. New taxes being imposed. A new tax being imposed will be a money bill, which will be presented by the finance minister, and a money bill can always be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Introduced in the Lok Sabha. It will be later on sent to the Rajya Sabha, but it is not. Any other bill can be presented first in the Rajya Sabha also. It can be introduced in the Rajya Sabha also. But a money bill will always be introduced first in the Lok Sabha and then only sent to the Rajya Sabha, right? And it also requires the president's recommendation, the president's approval that the money bill can be presented. That's again very important. Even the speaker has a role to play, but these two things are important. So please don't miss this out about the money bill. Now let's come to the executive. We have understood this about the legislature, which is the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Let's come to the executive, which is the Sarkar, which is the government. Okay. Now the Indian executive here, union executive, consists of the president. The president is part of parliament also. It consists of the president, it consists of the vice president and the prime minister, that is Draupadi Murmu as of now in 2026, CP Radhakrishnan and Narendra Modi. And Narendra Modi has his council of ministers who are sworn in by the president of India, right? So the council of ministers, it could be Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, Ashwini, Vaishnav, Nirmala Sitharaman, S. Jaishankar, all different ministers would be there, right? Now, the president is the head of the state. The president of India, in our case right now, Draupadi Murmu, is the head of state, but she is the nominal head of the executive. It is not, she does not have the powers, though she is saying that I am swearing in the prime minister of the country, but the real power is with the prime minister's office, not with the president's office. So functions include appointing the prime minister, summoning parliament. The parliament is summoned for the 3 sessions by Draupadi Murmu, by the president, and giving assent to bills. The bill is finally signed in the name of the president of India. The president also has discretionary powers. Now, discretionary powers is important. We will study all this in detail in class 9 and 10, wherein we are talking about if no party has a clear majority, then the president has the right to say that, okay, I think he or she can form the government. I will invite him to form the government, explore how to form a government by joining with other parties, right? So these are called discretionary. Discretion, at the discretion means iski chhoot hai, that the president can independently decide without being guided by the prime minister. This is a discretionary power of the president. The prime minister is the de facto, means in reality he is the executive authority who leads the council of ministers and shapes national policies. So the final power and authority lies with the prime minister of the country. What about the council of ministers? They are chosen from MPs of both houses. It could be Lok Sabha, it could be Rajya Sabha. Like for example, Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah, etc. are Lok Sabha MPs. Nirmala Sitharaman, S. Jaishankar are Rajya Sabha MPs. So you could be either a Lok Sabha MP or a Rajya Sabha MP, and you could still be a union minister. They are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Why they are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha? Because it is because of their majority in the Lok Sabha that the government is functioning, right? So that's why the Lok Sabha is more important than the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this is as far as the Council of Ministers is concerned. Then finally, the civil servants, who are the IAS officers, the IPS officers, the Indian Foreign Service officers, the Indian Revenue Service officers, they are called bureaucrats, okay, who assist ministers in implementing the laws and policies. So you will have a home secretary, you will have a finance secretary, you will have a foreign secretary, right? So all these people, essentially the chairman of the railway board, so they decide and help the ministers in framing and implementing all the policies that are decided by the government of the country, right? Now, this is again something very important. Lal Bahadur Shastri, who went on to become the Prime Minister of the country in 1964, after Pandit Nehru's demise on the 27th of May 1964, when he was railways minister in 1956, after a railway accident, he said, I take moral authority because I am heading this ministry. So many people have been killed in this particular railway accident. So I take moral responsibility and I will resign. Initially, Pandit Nehru said, no, you don't have to, but he insisted, and then later on, he resigned. Of course, ministerial accountability is considered something which is, a symbol of decent politics, which is why opposition parties demand the minister's resignation whenever something goes drastically wrong. Okay, it's a different matter that ministers may or may not resign, but Lal Bahadur Shastri is said to have set an example that there should be something called ministerial accountability, which has to be followed by the particular minister. Okay, so this is as far as the executive is concerned. Let's move on. Just want to ask you, and I was surprised that there are so many videos which have got so many views, but the number of subscribers are very less. In fact, I was looking at the analytics that 70% of those who are using the content on CBSE with Sudhir are not subscribing to it. Please let me tell you, it is free of cost. You don't have to pay any income tax, no GST, no sales tax on subscribing to the channel. So please do that. Also, every video that you find useful, please try to share it in your WhatsApp groups or to other classmates or other batchmates in other schools, because sharing is caring. And if you have liked the videos, ensure that you appreciate what good has been done to you in that particular video. So please, this is something, let's spread some positive cheer. Let's move forward. The difference between the legislature and the executive. Okay, the legislature makes laws, and this is a table in your textbook. I hope you have seen it. I will show it to you. We are talking about page number 153. This particular table, I'll just show it to you on the textbook also. So the legislature makes the laws, oversees the executive, and sanctions government expenditure, because the budget is passed by the legislature, that is the parliament. Okay, so if I have to show it to you here, Okay, so here I hope you can see it. Otherwise, you can keep the book open in front of you. The composition of the legislature, the Parliament of India is the supreme legislative body of the country, composed of the President, the Lok Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha. I have told you. This is a quick recap. Executive, President, Vice President. So President is there in both legislature and executive. Okay, and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Of course, please remember that the Council of Ministers includes MP. So by that yardstick, they are here as well as here. The Prime Minister is also here as well as here because he's also an MP. So please remember that. Main role is to make laws and overseeing the work of the executive. Executive's work is to enforce the laws made by the legislature. Don't get confused by the word law. Judiciary is different. We will come to judiciary in a bit. Then functions can introduce some bills in parliament. Now, most of the bills are initiated. They are drafted by the executive and presented before parliament. Parliament keeps a check on the activities of executive. During question hours, they can ask questions. They can pass a no confidence motion against the executive. All those things we will study in later classes. It provides information. It has to, if any MP asks anything from, let's say, the Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has to stand up and give the replies. If there has been a railway accident, Ashwini Vaishnav has to give reply. If there has been an air crash, Ram Mohan Naidu will have to stand up and give replies because he is the civil aviation minister, right? So all these things have to be done by the executive in parliament. It sanctions all government related expenditure because the budget is passed by the parliament. It prepares the budget and presents it in parliament and asks the parliament to pass it. Okay. It consults different parliamentary committees. The standing parliamentary committees can function independently in day-to-day matters, but it can always listen to recommendations made by the standing committee of parliament. Okay. Now, let's move forward. Executive, as I just now said, it enforces law, prepares the budget, and handles day-to-day government functioning. Now, let's come to the third wing, which is known as the judiciary. Judiciary essentially acts to ensure checks and balances. That is, both parliament and executive should not become over powerful. So it interprets the laws while acting as the custodian of the constitution. What does the word custodian means? It ensures the safety of the constitution, that nobody is violating the constitution, the parliament or the executive. So that is the role of the judiciary. What are its powers? It can step in if the legislature passes laws that violate the constitution. It can always say, let's say the state assembly of a particular state, let me not take any state's name, unnecessarily controversy ho jayega. If a particular state passes a law and somebody goes to the Supreme Court and says that this particular law is against the Constitution of India, the Supreme Court can listen to it, can listen to arguments on both sides, and if it finds that the law indeed violates the Constitution, it can strike down that law, saying that this law is null and void, it cannot be implemented, right? So the Supreme Court has that power, right? So if the legislature passes laws that violate the constitution framework, if the executive implements laws improperly, if the executive is doing something which is again going against the constitution, the Supreme Court can come down on it and say that no, nothing doing, this has to stop. Okay. So this is known as a system of checks and balances, that all the three are keeping an eye on each other, that nothing goes against a citizen of India. It ensures no single organ, legislature, executive, or judiciary becomes too powerful. Sorry, powerful spelling wrong. It should not become over powerful. Then let's now come to what happens in the case of a state. We have understood all this in the context of the center: Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Supreme Court, Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, President, Vice President, all this at the central level. What happens in the states? Let's say the state of, let's say, Chhattisgarh, or the state of Karnataka or Maharashtra, right? So the state structure is very similar to what happens at the central level. Let's refer to the table in the textbook so that it's slightly more clear. Yeah, this one. So the constitutional head in the case of the center is the president, okay, elected by an electoral college. Electoral college consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and members of the legislative assembly in the state. The state government is the governor, is the equivalent. President ka equivalent in the state is governor. For example, in every state, there will be a governor. For example, let's say the state of Kerala. Rajendra Arlekar is now the governor of Kerala, right? So every state will have a particular governor who is the equivalent of the president of India, right? The term of office, president is 5 years, union government is 5 years, state government is also 5 years. Executive head, the nominal head. For example, just now the Tamil Nadu elections got over, 2026. The next government will be elected in 2031, right? The executive head, in the case of the government of India, the nominal head is the president, but the prime minister is the real power, the real executive authority. Here, the nominal head is the governor and the chief minister is the real executive authority. Selection of the executive, leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha or a coalition if it's a group of parties. Right now, it is the NDA which is in power, not the BJP, because BJP alone did not have the majority. So it is an NDA which has the numbers. Here again, the leader of the majority party or a coalition in the Vidhan Sabha, which is known as the Legislative Assembly. Legislative Assembly in Hindi is called the Vidhan Sabha. Okay. Sattamandram, they say in Tamil. Council of Ministers selected by the Prime Minister, selected by the Chief Minister. Responsibility, collectively responsible to Lok Sabha, collectively responsible to the Legislative Assembly. Legislative structure, this is important. At the central level, it is bicameral, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. But in the states, some states are bicameral, some states are unicameral. Unicameral means they have only Vidhan Sabha, only Legislative Assembly. But there are some states in India which have a bicameral legislature, which is Vidhan Sabha, Legislative Assembly, and Vidhan Parishad, which is Legislative Council, which is the equivalent of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, not all states have it, only some states have it. Like Telangana has it, Andhra Pradesh has it, Karnataka has it, Tamil Nadu does not have it. So the lower house is the Lok Sabha, the house of the states, house of the people. Vidhan Sabha is the Legislative Assembly, which is the lower house. Upper house is the Rajya Sabha. Here it is the Vidhan Parishad, Legislative Council, as I said, only in some states. The term of the lower house is 5 years in both cases. Okay. Presiding officer in the case of the lower house is speaker. Here also is called the speaker. Legislative powers makes laws on subjects in union list and concurrent list. Concurrent list is the common list. Union list is for the union. State list is for the state. Concurrent list is where both the union government and the state government can make laws. State subjects and the concurrent list. Financial powers, money bills originate only in the Lok Sabha. Money bills originate only in the Vidhan Sabha. Okay. So this we have seen. Constitutional head, governor appointed by the president. We have studied all that. Okay. Now, here again, the chief minister is the real authority in the case of states. Legislature can be unicameral. I have taught you all this. Now, these are the states where there is a bicameral legislature. Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, where there is also a Vidhan Parishad in addition to a Vidhan Sabha. But many other states do not have a, like I said, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, etc. do not have a Vidhan Parishad. What about the division of powers? The union list, as I said, subjects for the center. The state list subjects for the states. The concurrent list is subjects which have where both union as well as states can make laws. But in case of a dispute, the union law will actually have the greater power. Okay, in between, if there is a dispute between a union law and a state law, for example, education is seen as a subject in the concurrent list. Now, what are the challenges to effective functioning? The productivity issues, and this is something which is debated every time, because every time there is a hangama in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, you are actually wasting a lot of public money, right? So declining productivity if you are not having effective debates due to disruptions. For example, the Rajya Sabha recorded a low of 35.75% productivity in the year 2018. That is only 64 point something, 0.25% of the sessions were wasted. So you are actually wasting public money whenever there is no healthy debate which is taking place either in the Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha. Then how do you define productivity? the number of hours a house actually functioned against the time it was scheduled to. So if it was supposed to work for, let's say, I'm just giving a random example, 50 hours, but you actually function for only 20 hours, which means you function only for 40%, the 60% time has been wasted because of various reasons, disruptions, walkouts, etc. So that is a waste of public money, right? What are the other concerns? If MPs do not attend parliament regularly, there are many MPs who do not attend parliament at all. So that is they are not doing their public duty because that's what they have been sent for helping in framing laws, non-cooperation and representative and people who have criminal record. If there are some MPs who have criminal record and they do not attend parliament, who do not behave in a way which they are expected to, that all is a big disappointment. There are essentially three sessions which are held of Parliament, which is known as budget, which starts from the 31st of January, the budget session. Then there is a monsoon session which happens in the month of July, August, and then the winter session which happens in the month of November, December. BMW. That's how you need to remember. Budget, monsoon, winter. BMW. You'll never forget it. Okay. So these are the parliamentary sessions held 3 times in a year: budget, monsoon, and the winter session. Now, of course, you have different kinds of cartoons, etc., which are used to communicate public concerns about parliamentary disruptions and candidate scrutiny, because the cartoons are seen as a way to kind of point fingers at, and generally in a very humorous manner point out the ridiculousness of a particular issue. Then finally, citizen engagement. Democracy grows stronger when citizens stay informed, participate in digital public debates, and engage with the representatives. That's what was seen in the Tamil Nadu election, where the Gen Z, big time, in a major way, because in Tamil Nadu, out of the total number of voters, 41% of the voters were in the age group of 18 to 40. 18 to 40. And these people came and consolidated and voted in a big way for actor politician Vijay's party, Tamilga Vetri Karagam, right? So TVK came to power because these youngsters voted. So that means they were more aware youngsters, and that is what people like you also should be. Not just listen to your elders in the family, not just base yourself on WhatsApp gossip, but be informed to see who is doing better for the country and vote accordingly in a responsible manner. So you need to participate in digital public debates, engage with representatives, and only then you can actually ensure that the democracy in the country is healthy and thriving. Okay, so that is something very important. Final point, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was Prime Minister of the country till 2004, he famously said that while governments and parties may come and go, partiyan aayengi, partiyan jayenge, chunav jeete jayenge, chunav hare jayenge, in his typical manner, Vajpayee ji said, the nation and its democracy must live on. That is more important, the country and the democracy. So anyone who hurts democracy is actually doing something extremely wrong for a very selfish purpose, and that should never be allowed by any well-meaning citizen, aware citizen of the country. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this longest chapter on parliamentary democracy. We have finished the entire part 1 textbook of social science for class 8. I hope you can go through all the videos where I've explained in simple English with lots of examples the entire textbook, so that any chapter question that comes from here, you should be able to deal with it. I'll see you now with part 2 of the social science textbook. Thank you very much. Tata, bye bye. Namaskar.